Hello, welcome back. Riding Cars. Today, I am talking about how customer service, I guess, can make or break a car. Car brand, car ownership experience, and how good customer service can make a car brand good. You know, I'm going to tell, that if you don't know about the Lexus story, the launch of Lexus as a luxury brand in the United States or North America, it was a weird launch because so it was Toyota, which is, basic family brand, basic everyday car family brand. Actually, I'm gonna go straight. Was trying to launch a luxury line of vehicles, which in North America they decided to do it through the name Lexus. In Japan, Toyota already had luxury cars out, sort of thing, but the rest of the world wasn't party to that. When Lexus launched, did a whole big promotion. A lot of people bought them. A lot of people wanted to be the first ones to own a Toyota luxury brand in North America. And the car wasn't super expensive at the time. It was on par with Mercedes and that kind of thing. However, there was a problem. They launched the car and there was a severe problem. There was a, fire hazard. There was a risk of death. Risky enough that they actually called, they needed to do a recall of most of their vehicles in order to fix this problem. That would result in death. Now, Lexus at the time, Toyota at the time said, well, this is gonna, look bad on us. This is our first car, first launch, first of this thing. If it goes bad, then, nobody will feel good about buying. And this is important words. Nobody will feel good about buying a Lexus in the future. So what they did was kind of ingenious. Because it was a luxury brand, they wanted to treat the people who bought their cars like royalty-ish, give them the full service. What they did is they sent out training on how to do all of this recall fix, and they were going to do it in people's driveways. So when your turn came to get your Lexus recall done, they showed up in a van, a bunch of men in a van, showed up at your house in pristine white, lab coats or smocks, and proceeded to fix the recall. They made it zero hassle, other than not being able to drive the car. They made it zero hassle for the owners to have the car. Now, the car was nothing special. To be honest with you, it was nothing special, right? It was just basically a luxuried up Toyota, and had the same things that other luxury cars. It didn't have spectacular 0 to 60. It didn't have spectacular luxury in it. It didn't have spectacular anything, right? It was just a well-made luxury sedan, four-door family sedan, their flagship vehicle at the time, the only vehicle at the time. But that, I'm not even going to say ingenious. I'm just saying that good idea to leave customers with a good feeling that they are being well taken care of by Toyota, or Lexus in this case. Turn that car brand into one of the best-selling brands in the world, luxury selling brands in the world. People left Mercedes, people left BMW, people left Jaguar, people left Audi to go and drive and buy Lexuses, right? Now, before I get too further on, you probably have a story of a good customer service experience, and you probably have a bad customer experience in dealing with cars. I do as well. You know. So leave that in the comments is what I'm going to ask, right? Share your story, because, you know, there's a lot of, I guess, arguments and miscommunication out there, you know, like biases, because I have a bias. And if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm biased against domestic vehicles. I don't think that they're worth, first of all, what they're charging. I've had really good experiences in owning Japanese cars and European cars. Both, I mean, reliability is here and there. Every car fails, right? Some more than others. The thing is that at the end of the day, you end up having to deal with customer service, you know, the service department at your local dealership to get these things fixed. And that experience, I think, it leaves you with either a good feeling about your car or a bad feeling about your car. You know? And I know there's some guys out there who don't care. There's some people out there who do not care. They will figure out, they just want the car. Whatever car it is, whoever makes it, it doesn't matter. There's a car out there and they want it and they want to own it, and they'll do whatever it takes to own it. And they may know that, you know, their dealer or their car company that owns that you know, manufactured this car is crap at service, so they just won't, you know, deal with that, right? They'll deal with it somewhere else. That kind of thing. But for the most part, you know, people will go, I remember this selling cars, you know. I worked at Toyota, I sold Toyotas, and people came there because it was a Toyota. And, you know, if you weren't a Toyota fanatic and you were just walking into the Toyota to try out a Toyota, you had to feel good about the whole experience. And one of the things that they told us not to do was not to badmouth even if it is the worst company in the world. You know, even if it was Volkswagen lying to their customers about the gas mileage, right? When somebody says, "Oh, well, there's a equivalent Toyota or equivalent Volkswagen over there," and you don't badmouth the company, you just say, "Good car, good company." You know, and that left people, you know, feeling good about who they're dealing with. You know, we're not, because we weren't badmouthing other cars, other car companies, other brands, right? And that, you know, that feeling, you know, stays with us. And that's why we drive cars, is because they make us feel good. We choose the cars that we drive, and we feel like we make it feel. These are the words, the key words. We feel like we made a great decision because of how the car makes us feel, and how the ownership experience from the beginning to the end made us feel good about it, right? You could be driving a Nissan Rogue with a transmission that's about to fail, but you feel good about it because, that aside, the whole customer experience that you had was good. Even taking it in for service, right? Even when the transmission fails at whatever, 50,000 kilometers or 30,000 or 10,000, whatever they fail at, you know, when you take it in, you know, Nissan, if they're a good car company, they will treat you well. They will make it as seamless as possible and as painless as possible, and you will leave there feeling good about, you know, the crappy car that you bought with the crappy transmission that you will always have a headache with, right? And living with a car with a headache is fine. You know things. I owned a BMW. You know, the car is so complicated. It constantly needed work. Everything was so, you know, I don't know, not necessarily delicate. It was just, things were complicated on it. And things wore out regularly all over the place. So there was always something to do with the car. However, when you took it to the BMW, when you take it to the BMW dealership, it was the best experience I've ever had in my life, right? They treated you like a king. And, the car was fantastic to drive. One of the best driving cars I've ever driven in my life as a daily driver and as a fun car on the weekends. It was the all-around one of the best cars I've ever driven in my life. And it was a problem car. Brake sensors fail. All kinds of boring things going on. The water pump, the oil pan gasket, the coils, the spark plugs. There was all sorts of things going wrong with the car all the time. And what kept, I felt good about the car because I love to drive it, first of all. It was easy to work on myself, actually. But I know, BMW's customer service, bar none, is one of the best in the world, because everybody driving a BMW is basically driving a lemon by most people's standards, right? And what keeps people going back to buy BMWs? And it's not just the driving experience you get out of the car, right? It's how you're treated at the dealership. When it's getting service, when you're going in to buy, the whole thing just is great, And in that way, customer service makes the car ownership experience a good one. I currently own a Dodge Hornet. I bought it at the first launch. I really didn't know anything about it. I made a video about it. But, in dealing with Dodge's customer service and other people's customer service experience with Dodge and the Hornet is, it's been pretty despicable, And that, there's a guy on the forum right now. I just read it the other day. He was saying that his entire life, he's always had a Dodge product in his driveway. In his, circulation of vehicles, he's always got a Dodge that he can jump into and drive around. That's how much he likes Dodge cars. And Dodge is the company, that sort of thing. His entire lifetime of owning vehicles. Now, he went out and bought a Hornet, and he's having problems with it. And he goes, I don't mind the problems with the cars. You get problems with cars. Here's my problem, is in dealing with the customer service while owning this Hornet makes me want to never, ever buy another Dodge product ever again in my life. I'm not a Dodge fan. I've been a Dodge hater my entire life, right? Mostly because the cars aren't reliable. I just put it down to that. You would either get a really good car from Dodge or you would get a 100% lemon from Dodge, right? That's how I came to my view of. Here we go. There we go. Just do the cruise. That's how I viewed Dodge, and I would never put it because why pay that large sticker price on whatever vehicle you're buying and put that in your driveway when it's a roll of the dice, right? When you could just go to Toyota and just say, hey, I don't have to worry about it. It's not a headache. And it's the same price as that stupid Dodge over there. That's what I'm saying. Problem cars aren't the problem. People love Italian cars, and Italian cars are finicky. They've got a history of being finicky. Yet, they are, right now, those older Italian cars with all the weird electrics and, funny personalities in them, that people will fight through all of that. They will, So, the car being the problem isn't the problem. It's dealing with the dealerships. It's or dealing with how the parent company treats their customers. will make or break. There are super rich people out there who will not deal with Ferrari because Ferraris are jerks, right? I've heard those stories before too. Yeah, so tell me in the comments, if you can think back to a time where you weren't sure about a car, but because your dealership experience was so great that you went out and actually ended up buying another one, or you changed your tune on that car company. Like me owning my Hornet, I never thought I would buy a Dodge in my life, but I did. I went out and bought the Dodge, and I was pleasantly surprised by the car. I was actually quite, enough to the point where I would tell people to, hey, you should buy a Hornet. These things are actually a really good car. But on the forum, it is still the same hit and miss thing, where you either get a good one or you get a bad one. Is what the consensus is that I'm finding on the owning of these Hornet things. And the guys who own the good ones, they're not saying anything. They're not complaining. But the people who do own the bad ones, who did get bad ones, of course, are very, very loud and trying to warn people off of them, of course, right? Which is what you should do, However, I thought, this is a chance for Dodge to change my mind about owning a Dodge product again in my life, right? I mean, the Hellcats, or the Chargers and Challengers just finished their heyday, and that kind of got me kind of turned on, saying, hey, maybe Dodge isn't such a bad brand. And then I bought the Hornet, and I was like, you know what? This is actually a really good car, and it's been very good to me this entire time of ownership. But the entire time of doing this and being on the forum, the Dodge Hornet Owners Forum, and reading the horror stories of other people's ownership experience and dealing with customer service, left me thinking, like, I've always been scared to take it to the dealership, and they're just because they're not knowledgeable. That's all. Is what it comes down to. Is that they're not handling the launch of the Hornet at all very well. Is what it came down to. And I don't just mean the advertising of it, right? Like, people would be singing from the mouth, telling everybody that they could, say anything to about owning a Hornet if their customer experience has been great, right? And it isn't. I'm still, I can't wait to find another mechanic to take my car to get oil changes done. Like, it's twice I've taken it into the Dodge dealership, and twice I've had to, teach them how to reset the oil life on the car, even though they're telling me, we know how to work on the car, we know everything about it, and they send me home, after an oil change, and then nothing's been happening, sort of thing, right? My dad he had to get his, had to get the Cherokee taken in for an oil change, and, oil change was done, simple, easy stuff. But they asked if they made a point of asking him, do you want it washed? And then this is kind of a thing in the house about getting cars washed when you take it in for service, because every other company out there will do it except for domestic dealers. I've taken my Hondas, we've taken it to secondhand mechanics who do warranty work, and they wash the cars before and after working on them, right? I've taken Honda, Toyota did it, Ford doesn't do it, Dodge doesn't do it, and obviously now Jeep doesn't do it. But they made a point of asking my dad, do you want this thing washed? And he's like, well, yeah, sure, And him and my daughter took it in for service, asked all of this, got the service done, called him in, said, here you go, car's ready. We even made sure we washed it for you. And then they got to the car, and it wasn't washed. My daughter walks up to me, looks like they didn't even do anything to it. What's the whole point about doing the car wash? Like, I don't get it. Like, she was mystified. She got home and she said, like, I don't get it, Dad. Like, they made a whole point of this. And the lady, after handing over the keys, saying, yeah, your car was washed, it's waiting out on there, and here's your keys, and have a good day. Thank you very much for your service, right? And, my dad's like, well, he was basically lied to his face. Somebody in the dealership isn't talking to one another or something like that, or somebody lied at the dealership, or somebody didn't say something. Something happened at the dealership there where the lady was told that the car was washed, or she assumed it was washed, or something like that, but the car wasn't, right? And in today's day, when you're paying way too much for a vehicle and your car payments are $1,000 a month, and dealerships are struggling to get customers in, it's no wonder why. It's no wonder why. let me know in the comments. Hit the like button if you like something that I've said here today, and I'll see you on the next one.